When I say fix, I don't mean get everybody working the same way as everybody else. When I say fix, I mean remove the stresses on an individual's processing that are stopping these systems working the right way for them. Because fundamentally these systems would develop perfectly unless there was something getting in the way. And perfectly is different for everybody. And in general, certainly with children, nobody really looks at what I've just been talking about. It's all hidden. They only start to look at the bit I'm just about to talk about, which is really the effects of the problems. And they don't look in great detail at the bits I'm going to be talking about either. In fact, most of it they don't look at all. With a child, generally, you'll look at what their IQ is, what their attainments are in terms of reading, writing, spelling, etc. You'll look at a behavioural profile, and you'll put them into some kind of a box and a label and find out some way of giving them some extra help if they need it. But what the mainstream system doesn't do is look underneath to find out what the problems are. Now, this is crazy. It's just exactly the same as saying to a child who's broken their leg, I think you need to do more practice. I think you need to get out there on the sports field and keep on practicing the 100 yards. It's obviously not going to work, and it's probably going to make stuff worse. But that's what we're doing to children, and I always talk about children because that's who I work with, but the same goes for adults. Adults are just big children. That's what the system is doing because it can't see that the child has broken their leg. And the bits I'm going to be talking about are bits that aren't looked at. So the system can't see that the child has a big problem with their visual processing. The system can't see that the child has a big problem with their central auditory processing. Even the system often can't see the difficulties with the motor system. So it says, okay, you know, you just need to do more practice. Keep at it. We know it's hard, but we'll support you as much as possible. Now, of course, the sensible thing to do with anybody who's broken their leg is to actually investigate to find out where it's broken and to heal it. And while you're doing that, not to get the child doing lots of running, because it's not going to help and it's probably going to make things worse. But that's what we're doing at the moment. So the bits I'm talking about now are the bits that you can easily investigate to see where the leg is broken. That's the first step. And in spite of what people may tell you, people very, very rarely look at whether somebody can use their visual processing system adequately at near point to do the task they're being asked to do. Usually the only investigation of the visual system is to see if you can focus at a distance. That has nothing whatever to do with learning. You can give people glasses for that. Sometimes there are some techniques creeping in that people use, but on the whole, most children and adults with reading difficulties don't know that they can't see properly. And that's because we just think using eyes is about focus, and you have different sorts of glasses. But actually using eyes is mainly about neurological functioning, which is something an optometrist can do nothing about. It's not his job to do that, and therefore he won't investigate it. But it's not the teacher's job either. So who's there to investigate it? Nobody. And that's the problem we have. What we're talking about now falls into some kind of a no man's land. It's not teaching. It's not really the job of the medical profession. It's not a psychiatrist's job. There's nobody who's responsible for doing this simple thing, which is, where's that child broken his leg? Where's that adult broken their leg? It doesn't happen. But dopamine is also the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation. Do I really want to do this? Now, the way I tend to look at it is, for most people, if something is 50% interesting, they'll do it. So most people in school, the teacher says, we'll do this, they're happy to do this. For somebody with a dopamine imbalance, something may have to be 85% interesting for them to focus their attention. And if it's not 85% interesting, what's going on in their right brain, in their creative brain, is more important, so they're daydreaming. The teacher's talking about something, the child is off thinking about something completely different, because the teacher could not engage their interest, not because the teacher's a bad teacher, or the student's a bad student, but because that particular topic is not really, really interesting for that child. Now, you can look at this as a problem, say this person needs to be fixed. They need to be able to respond 85%. But if you think about it, if you're going to become an expert, if you're going to become a brain surgeon or a nuclear physicist or particularly become an expert in some particular field, particularly something that's not really been done before where you're pushing the boundaries, you've got to have the sort of attention mechanism that says, I'm going to devote 100% of my attention to this particular topic because it's really important to me and I can disregard everything else. So you're going to become an absent-minded professor. You know, the sort of chap who never washes his socks but is very good at nuclear physics. And we accept that as normal. If you were to intervene with that child at 9 and say, you've got to pay attention to everything, you might stop that person being absent-minded, but at the same time you might actually stop him becoming a professor. Because you need that different ability, you need that differential focus that says, I'm really, really going to concentrate on something that's important to me. And I'm going to do it all day and all night, and I'm going to contact loads of people, and I'm going to push the boundaries. And what you find is that the people who, when you're assessing, are obviously creative, obviously right-brained, have issues with overflow movements and issues with motivation, they're all the ones designed to be experts. So we have to get a balance here.